The topic is the stride formation, the foundation of shooting, with Tim Turk. Tim is an NHL shooting and scoring coach who specializes in hockey shooting, passing, and puck preparation and control, while also teaching the technical aspects and strategies of the puck protection. Tim has created his own hockey development company known as Tim Turk Hockey, and has also recently developed an online training website. Please welcome here in Prague, Tim Turk.
Thank you. Holy smokes. Morning, everybody. Morning. Morning, everybody. Hey, there we go. I want to take an opportunity first to thank the IIHF for giving me the opportunity to come and present in front of everybody. And even more so, everyone that's come up to me and introduced themselves, that I see a lot of familiar faces here and that I did not know you. I'm very grateful that you came and took the time to introduce yourself and say hello. Today I'm going to do a presentation on timeout. Angela, where's Angela? Where'd she go? Was this timer on when you guys were, the timer was on in there? Well, that's not good. Do I have to stick within this time limit, or? Oh shit, we're in trouble, man. But everyone that came over, I just want you guys to know that hopefully with this presentation, you're gonna have the opportunity to take away something and give back to your players, your fellow coaches and management team to allow you to recognize what it takes in the technical shooting aspect when you're releasing a puck or shooting, or get the opportunity to do so. So I'm going to give you some technical aspect, but building a foundation is kind of really important. And one of the things that I'm going to work on and allow you guys to realize that there's this thing I call the stride formation, is when a player releases a puck as they're shooting, we always want their feet moving. But if the feet don't keep on moving, we want to make sure that we are in this actual formation. So if you're a righty or right-handed shot, as you're releasing the puck, your right leg's going back. So if you're a left-handed shot, which leg goes back? Left. The left one goes back. So it doesn't matter how long you pause, doesn't matter if your feet are moving, but this formation is what we're going to build a foundation on. And then you always start from the lower body and then go to the upper body. So the stride formation release is righties, right leg back, lefties, left leg back. So I'll give you a video here. Uh-oh, maybe not. Here we go.
Morgan Riley again. Matthews again. Snaps a shot. He scores!
So you can see as this guy's kind of popular. He scores quite a bit. Austin Matthews here is infamous for creating success when he releases the puck in that formation. His left leg's going back. There's a lot of things to note when you're releasing a puck, and it's all about your body alignment and what you look like when you shoot, and what happens before you release a puck, during the actual shot, and then what happens afterwards. We need the body to be in control and stabilized, because usually after a shot release, if the puck doesn't go in, we always want to be ready for what comes next. And the most important thing that comes next, in my opinion, could be a rebound or a deflected block shot. So if your body's in a ready position, you can capitalize on it if you're stable. So that's really important.
7 seconds. Here's Kapanen. Matthews, time winding down, he scores! Austin Matthews with 2.7 seconds remaining in overtime wins the game for the Maple Leafs.
As from Taves was at the feet of Kane, so Matthews on the counter attack up with Gardner. Matthews shooting, he scores! The Leafs win. Austin Matthews looked like he might dish. He snapped it off. Toronto. A huge comeback.
So that actual formation, everyone, you can visualize with your players if they do shoot in that formation. In my opinion, in my experience, I've always found that good shooters are easily recognizable. You can see your team, you can watch the player shoot, and you know who has a good shot. And usually something that dictates a good shot is this part of the player's body. The chest, the shoulders, the head, everything goes forward. Everything's going kind of towards the target. So for something to go forward, your shoulders, your chest, more importantly, something's got to go back. So to start off with getting a good shot, that's why I introduce the stride formation, because when the leg goes back, it takes the hips back, and if the hips go back, the shoulder goes forward. Shoulders and chest go forward. And it sets the hip position, shoulder position. Your posture level is critical. And I'm going to touch on a little bit of why skating is important to your foundation and your stability. But I get asked all the time, hey, Coach Turkey, like, why do you teach shooting? And I'm like, well, because I want the players to like me. I don't want to teach skating. You know, the skating coaches are they have trouble. But you need the skating to be able to have a good shot. So it's foundational for you. So I highly recommend that you encourage your players or yourself to understand the skating aspects as well and what happens with that. Really, really good. Okay, let's go to some shooting technique. So now we go from the lower body to the upper body. The top hand on your stick, I have a catchphrase for it. I call it the grip hand. Reason I call it the grip hand is everyone has to have a firm grip on the top of that stick. How you grip that stick is important, and it's unique to you or to the individual. Individuals, you'll hear me say it over and over again, are like fingerprints. The way that we do things is unique to us. So as development coaches, as head coaches and assistant coaches, I highly encourage you to try and fine-tune what the player has comfort in and make small modifications to help them not to be too uncomfortable because they do it their own way, if that makes sense. So that top hand, the grip hand, in a shooting action, you know this, it pulls. That pulling action, no matter how much space you take, creates speed on the puck. That's the speed part of the shot, is the pulling action. So when you're looking at these players, you'll see like the next bullet point is the grip hand or the grip arm, that elbow. I've heard many coaches say to me, hey, Coach, can you get them to get their hands away from their body because they're so close and tight? So one of the things that you can recommend or mention to your players or help to teach them is to elevate their elbows. Get their elbows up. When the elbows are elevated, it creates more range. Elevated elbows really helps with that. And then they'll be able to use different ranges within a certain space. And when they start to do that, then you're getting into condensation and you're getting compacted, and that allows them to make that pulling action a little bit shorter, and that's what we want. We want them to condense and compact it so it becomes more deceptive. That's what that is. Okay, the bottom hand creates force, power, you're pushing. So that pushing action gives the puck its power and force. Sometimes we get this, there's an attitude like where people will say, hey, that guy's got a really, or that person has a really heavy shot. The puck is really heavy. Oh, but this person over here has a really quick release. So then that's when you start to differentiate where a player will push more than they pull or they'll pull more than they push. So the actual idea is to try and get that to as 50% as possible. But sometimes they feel stronger on their bottom hand or they feel stronger pulling, and that's okay. As long as they are pulling from a good starting position and ending in a good ending position and ready for what comes next. That's the power hand. Power arm connected to the power hand. Lefties, your left-handed shooters out there, when they push their arm, it should try and fully extend. And I have a word that I use when the arm goes into a straight line. It's like your elbow kind of locks out. You'll see some players will shoot the puck and their arm will go across their body. And then, they've had a force, but then that forced direction and all the energy is going somewhere else. And we want it to go straight towards the target in a downward trajectory. And if you push down on your stick, somebody tell me what happens when you push down on your stick. What happens? What does it do? Say it louder. Flexes. So your stick flexes, and in my opinion, I've done this in research for a long, long time. Sticks do not want to be flexed. They want to be straight. So the more you flex it, the quicker it wants to straighten out to an actual proper flex rating. You know, sometimes the stiffnesses are too stiff, so it's harder to flex in a certain area. Sometimes they're too weak. We have to find what the right flex is for the players to get that effectiveness in their shot release. Locking body joints equals power. When you're in a stride formation, two things lock. Your elbows, lefties your elbows, righties your knees. When that leg goes back, and you'll see this, sometimes players will shoot and their leg will go dangle around back behind them, and then their body's a little bit out of control. So we need them to make sure they lock out their knee when they take their shot, activate certain muscle groups for that to take place. Snapping body joints. For you skating coaches out there, there's a thing that skating coaches or the skating coaches that help your teams, they call it a toe flick. At the end of the skating stride, there's an action where your ankle snaps. So your wrists, your ankles, and your hips do a snapping action, and that's the quickness part of the shot release when you're in the stride formation. Make sense? We got everybody? Hand speed equals puck speed. Where can you go to improve your hand speed? Where do the players go to improve hand speed? Where do they go? To the gym. Have a good trainer. Quick twitch muscle fibers. Getting that release condensed in a smaller area is what we're looking for. That's key. Any questions? Good. Next. So here's the locking equals power and force and snapping. This particular player here, you can draw a straight line from their nose all the way through to their toes on their right side. And that's really good. Your elbow locks out. You can see the stick flex. And it's important that, that when you're taking a shot, you know, one of the things that I always ask players is, what's one thing you need to do, you know, to hit a target when you're passing and shooting? What's one thing? And I get a lot of, you know, point your stick to the target. It's where the goalie isn't. It's where the stick blade is. But how do you know where all that is? And it's all about your vision, about creating that heads-up vision and pre-scanning and reading what's going on so that you can make those choices and options of where to shoot a little bit quicker. Make sense? Okay. Before you get ready to shoot, I have these common phases prior to a shot release. What you do and how you do it, it's different for everybody. But I have a control phase, and one of the things that I found out in all my time in research is when a player's skating laterally down the ice, they're going, unless you're Connor McDavid, you're not going straight. But it's important that when you're doing a linear skate with the puck, creating separation, the puck's always in a certain position. That's where you have it under control. In righties, it's usually in a certain position. In lefties, it's like on the other side of the body. That makes sense. So it's like, where is that puck located when you are in motion skating down the ice? Whether you're changing direction or not, it's important that it's prepared. Ready to go. Preparation phase. Where can you pass? What's the shot opportunity? Where's the target? So you're going down the ice in control. All of a sudden, you are pre-scanning. You have your head up using peripheral vision to make sure you still have the puck. And then all of a sudden, you have a pass option or a target option. So now you have to prepare. So now you got to load it. So there's a loading phase. This is getting the puck into a position that's ready to shoot. And I'm going to say it over and over again, everyone. That position to get ready is different for everybody. But we'd like to narrow down areas of that puck so that you can help your players to either enhance their preparation time, enhance where they read where that shot or pass needs to go, so the puck is in a really good position, but it doesn't have to be in the same position for each player. Because like I said, we're like fingerprints. Everyone needs to be comfortable in a certain way, but that doesn't mean they can't make small fine-tuning modifications to where the puck position is or where the hand position is. That's important. Then your release phase. After you've finally recognized the target, now you gotta release it. So how much space, how much time does that player take to shoot the puck once they've recognized a shot opportunity or a pass opportunity? The time it takes to do so. That's very important. And these three things happen like that. I was gonna give you some data, some raw data here, but you know, if you have the opportunity to take a shot, whether you've created it yourself, or you've received a pass, or you've searched out a stray puck somewhere, and you jump on the puck, and this all happens simultaneously. It's got to happen really quickly because of the situation at hand. That makes sense, okay. So this is a diagram or an illustration. I call it a chicken scratch of where the player controls the puck. So you can see beside in front of 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, a righty would have that puck in that position as they're going down the ice. Kind of like getting ready to shoot, there's your preparation phase. And then what happens is once the shot or the pass target is located, now they got to prepare. So they're putting the puck somewhere. And a lot of times, commonly in the younger age groups, a lot of the players, what they'll do is they'll overload the puck. So they'll take it a little bit behind their body because they feel like that's where all the power is going to come from. The further back I take it, the more power I can generate. But it's not the case. Where their hands and arms and where their hands push at certain times is different for everyone, but it happens somewhere beside the body. So they don't need to overload the puck. So an ideal loading puck position that I've kind of noticed and observed over the years is just to have the puck somewhere beside them. And usually what happens is I've found that the grip hand, the top hand, is connected to the puck. So if they take the puck and overload it, back behind their body, the grip hand follows it across the body. And in the shot release formation, the technique, that hand comes back to where it started from, and then the shot takes place. So this is like extra steps, which takes what? Too much what? Too much time, exactly, too much time. So we want to try and get that puck into a position where it's going to be effective for that player to be able to release it without wasting too much time or too much space. So sometimes what you might have to do, I had this player that I worked with a team called the Montreal Canadiens. I don't know if you ever heard of them or not. But the Montreal Canadiens player, he wears number 11. And I remember he's a right-handed shot. And I'm doing evaluation on a shot. And he's taking the puck all the way back here. And I'm like, hey, Gally, you can't take it back there because it's going farther away from the target. It takes longer for it to get there. He's like, nope, that's the way I do it. I got to take the puck back there because I feel comfortable with the puck there. I go, try and move the puck up. Just move it up a little bit. Nope, I can't do that. So I'm thinking, how can I help to correct that puck position? The top grip hand's connected to it. So he would take his hand across his body, and I'd say, Gally, you're not allowed to take your hand across your body. That's easy. I can do that. And it's connected to the puck. So instead of talking about the puck, I spoke about his hand position, and he modified it on his own because it felt better, because he could connect with the hand position instead of the puck position. And that correction helped him immensely, which is really good. So it can help any player. So we need, as coaches, we need to see what's connected in case a player's way too uncomfortable to make a modification or a change, but everything's connected. So we want to make sure that the puck is as close to the release phase of the shot as possible. So you can see at righties between 1 and 2 o'clock, somewhere in there, that's where the puck releases from the stick. Unless you're exceptional, then it could be a little bit farther or frontal in the body, depending on your formation that you're in. Everybody got that? Control preparation, the loading and release positions of the puck. Okay, so now we got to lock things up. Patrick did a presentation yesterday, and he was a strength coach, and it reminded me of what muscles need to be activated. And these are the big core muscles. There's a lot of things that go on when a player shoots a puck, but sometimes in the lower age groups that you guys are coaching in, when you use big words that mean something, when it's fun, and you ask a 11-year-old what this muscle's called, and they're like, I don't know what it's called, coach, and say, it's called the bicep. And when you activate it, it does something, kid would be like, holy crap. Yeah, I'm activating my bicep. And then you're coaching in a way where you can get them to add power to their shot, and they're learning about biology as well. And they like that stuff. You know, then the muscle that's underneath the arm is a tricep, and when you activate the muscles, that's what locks your body joint. And you activate that. And it's kind of simplistic way of showing players that they need to fully extend when they shoot with their hands away from their body. Same thing with the lower body. There's three, what's that muscle called in the front? What do you guys call that? Speak up. Quad, that's a quad, right? That's a quad. So the quad's in front, behind, we call it the hammy, the hamstring, and then this one we call the toilet. Got your toilet here, got your glute. Those are the three biggest muscles that are condensed in a small area in your body. And you'll see that good skaters and good shooters that are in this formation are activating those muscles because they're locking out their elbow, they're locking out their knee, and they're getting the snap action because of it. So this is kind of important. Where do they build those muscles? Working in the gym. Yeah, in the gym. Got to be in the gym for that. It's important. Okay, so the stride formation, since 2003, I've been doing some study research, getting all kinds of video from all over, and it produces an average of, it fluctuates from year to year, but an average of 70% of all even strength goals. And who can tell me what happened in 2003 at the NHL level? Do you remember, Jimmy, what they do? They changed the rules. No clutching and grabbing, no holding, no hooking, no obstruction. You'd get a penalty. So what did it do to the game? It made it a lot what? A lot faster, yeah. It sped it up a little bit. And that's what happened. So there was more shots that are taking place now because of that. So we have to train the players to be able to react quicker, thinking about what you need to do right away. So it's a pretty high percentage. But I don't know, if out of 100, there's some stuff that's left over.
Saw everything that happened after that.
Pavillier with good hustle there. Meanwhile, the puck turned on back and can be ragged through a lot of traffic and brought back on. And a shot. Score! Brock Nelson! And it's 1-0 Islanders.
Puck's on the Lightning goaltender. Here he's not able to make a decision. Beauvillier in to take time and space away. And then eventually the turnover. And the Islanders are able to get this puck to the net as Nelson just rips this over the glove. What a shot.
So there's Brock Nelson. And again, the players that you're working with, you'll know the differences between your internal passion to improve, or you can use them as examples for the others. And if they want to improve, they're going to do that. But if they're not going to want to improve, or they're less interested in that, whether there's distractions going on in their life or whatever, sometimes it's good to point out a player that has really good passion to improve, and not just once, like every day. And if these players that are improving, it's a great example for the others to see all around you. And it's good to use them as examples in positive ways. I'm a big, firm believer in observing. Whenever I work with teams or small groups or even private sessions, I'm constantly encouraging the players to observe each other and how they do things. Have a visual, take a look, you know, how far are their feet apart. And one of the things that I found in the stride formation that I'm sure everyone here knows, that lower center of gravity can create more power and stability. So the reaction time is enhanced. So if you have a player that has a really good stride shot, but doesn't have as much power, you can encourage them to get distance between their feet. So what's happening to me is I get more distance. I'm getting lower and more forward. So separation of the feet in that formation will help them to create more power. And when they create more power, it's a feeling. When they feel the power and the quickness, they're going to want to repeat it. And things that are repeated builds consistency of execution. And that's what we want. We want to be as consistent as possible every time we take a shot. Really important.
You think, obviously the puck ended up in the back of the net there, Boosh. But maybe the lack of decision of freezing the puck, realizing that Beauvillier was coming right on him there? I think when you look at it now.
So many things to analyze in a clip, in a shot formation or any type of situation there. One of the things that sticks out for me in that actual clip is not just the formation of the timing of it, he's synchronizing. So synchronizing your formation or your action can be deceptive. Goalies are really, really honing in on movement patterns now. Goalie coaches are teaching their goalies to set up in different ways. You know, most of the time, in my experience that I've seen over the years, if I'm a right shot, my puck's here. If I'm a left shot, it's here. More than, I want to say 90% of the time, if I'm going to change the angle of the puck, it's going to come inward on certain angles for different players. So when it comes inward, it doesn't start and finish at the same place. It's coming in, the angle's changing. So goalie coaches are now teaching goalies to line up between the puck and the player instead of being right on the puck. So you can let your players know that if you're changing the angle on the puck, the goalie's going to be already ready for it to come inward. So then we want to counter that somehow. Different types of shot releases, different types of angle changes, and all that stuff. If you change the angle, what does it do to the goalie? It makes them what? Makes them move. We got to get them moving. If they're stable and they have a good foundation and they haven't moved, then more than likely it's going to be a simplistic stop, block, or save for them. So getting to the other 30%, the stride formation for me is the foundation to create success for the other foundations, the other actual formations that these players shoot in. And there's many of them. So the first one is a single leg shot. This is one of the most common ones where a player will go in, lift up a leg, take a shot, put their foot back down, and then continue on to the next situation. The problem is, with a single leg shot, if the stride formation hasn't become consistent, the human mind is like, I need my body to be safe because the surface that's under us is really slippery. So when that foot comes up, the body will come up, the hips will go forward, and then they'll go back down again. So they'll change their posture level when they're taking their shot. And usually if you go this way, you take pressure and force off the puck. We want to keep as much pressure and force on the puck as possible. But that's the single leg shot. So for lefties, it's commonly lifting up a leg, taking a shot. Sometimes you'll see this. You'll see a peeing on a fire hydrant or something like that. But it's kind of important to maintain that low level of posture, and that's what the stride formation does. Sets the hips position and the shoulder position. So we want that player to be able to lift up their foot, but still maintain that they just need to do this. They maintain their posture, the foot comes up as they shoot, and they still have a different style of lower body formation instead of the stride formation. The crossover, you guys, I don't know if you've seen this. This is where a player can be walking off the wall, or they can be going straight down and they'll do a crossover, and as they cross over, they're releasing a puck. So the crossover, going linear, can change the angle of the puck with the body. Just a crossover step, take a shot, whether you're going away from the target, towards the target. Doesn't matter if it's across your body or away from your body, but it's good to do that. So now we've already talked about the stride formation, which looks like this. Then we have the single leg, then we have a crossover. So if we can give these players options and choices and different ways to look, as long as they don't compromise their posture level, then they're starting to build variation. And we want variation in the way we do things so we don't become predictable. That's important. Scissor action. I can't do it. I'm too stable. But when the feet, they do this stuff when they're shooting. Oh shit, that wasn't me, was it? So it's important that they do all kinds of different actions to take the eyes from the goalie off the puck and try and distract as much as possible so they look different. That's important, really important too. Parallel feet. There's a guy that plays in Pittsburgh. He wears number 87. Do we know who he is? What's his name? Someone tell me. Crosby, yeah. He's infamous. I saw him do this one time in an exhibition game near my hometown. And he came off the wall, and then he was just had the puck like this. And he was in this position, just went, just shot the puck right away without doing anything with his feet. Stayed in this position. It reminded me of a cowboy pulling his gun out of the holster and shooting right away. His hands were close to his body, and when your hands and arms are close, it's more deceptive. When you start reaching with the puck, goalies can see your action with your hands, and then they can recognize or time when that shot release is going to take place. But if you keep them in close, usually your gloves and your uniform, they match. So we want to create some camouflage. When your hands go away from your body, then the goalies can recognize. When they're in closer, it's harder for them to recognize when the shot's being released. Parallel feet, facing the target, the cowboy shot. Open hip. I walked up to the castle yesterday with my daughter. I cannot show you what the open hip is today. But it's when you do this, the players are doing all this stuff going down the ice, and when you can release from that, there's a really, I don't have the video, it's a really good example of Nathan McKinnon doing it in the Stanley Cup final two years ago. Really good, deceptive way to shoot. That open hip action, it deters the attacker. You know, they don't know what you're gonna do. You open up your hip, you're gonna go right, you're gonna go left, you're accelerating, are you pausing, are you snow plowing, are you slowing down? So it's a really good way to shoot a puck, enabling you to create scoring opportunities. All these formations, from the stride formation to the single leg, to the crossover, to the scissor action, I mean, you can add jumping to it. Phil Kessel is an example. He likes to jump when he shoots, but you know, that jumping action, we feel like it's the jump, but they jump down. They jump into the ice, jump into the puck, put pressure down, and it's important to get that extra pressure. Pressure will create more power on your shot. Synchronized is all together. Do pause delays. That number 34, Austin Matthews, he will create momentum. He'll get into the stride formation and then shoot after. So the goalie's like, when are you going to? Now you're going to shoot. Like, shit. You know, like in the defense, when anticipation is elevated, the D that's backing up off of a shooter, they start to get out of their posture level because they don't know when to shot. They want to be protected. So when you pause in the formation that you're going to shoot, it's going to create some offensive, probably tactical, really, really good opportunities. So changing the timing and all this stuff is important too. This is in there for the opposite of everything we're talking about.
Back check by Reese Johnson.
Connor Bedard now ties the game. He scores. It's another multi-goal game.
That's which way the puck goes before he shoots it.
Picks it up. He's looking across, but the deception. I mean, Bobrovsky does not know where he's going to put this puck.
Here's Bedard off the stretch. Quick shot, and he scores! Over the left shoulder of Stuart Skinner. And Connor Bedard has his 12th of the year.
Not only the quickness, the power, but the accuracy. Takes the outlet pass.
So that particular preparation or the actual loading phase is getting the puck to move opposite. So when I talk about goalie coaches preparing players for that 90% inward pull, and that inward pull for everybody is different. But I try to encourage players to try and get that inward pull as lateral as possible. The most common angle that a player pulls the puck in at is kind of like, I want to say 45 degrees. So this is completely inward. The puck goes at 45 degrees. The more that you can make the angle greater to your body, the better it is for you, if that makes sense. You want to pull it inward. So because that high percentage of shot takes place when you do the outward preparation, the goalies look at it and go, what the heck is that? That's the other 10 to 15% of a different style of shot release where you're pushing it out. You know, some players do it in tight, under 15 feet or 3 meters within the goal crease area, but if you can do it even perimeter shooting, it's really, really effective to tell your players to try and push it out when they shoot. It might limit the shot release type, but at least the initial preparation or the initial angle change of the outward angle is going to cause some sort of second chance opportunity. And if the puck doesn't go in on the initial shot, what do we want to happen, coaches? What do we want? We want a rebound. We want a second chance opportunity so that we can pounce. And then that's where the coaching comes in, where it's like, hey, if we're going to get the puck to the net, we have to find support. We have to have hunters that are hunting for rebounds, and we have to have support, and then we have to have communication, where you're coming from and what you're doing. I really like, there's a coach in the room here, a good friend that I've had for many years, and he's always made a comment about defensive shooting and defensive shot blocking. And one of the things is, like, when you shoot from the point as a defenseman, it's not an expectation for you to score. But if I get to the point mark anywhere from the blue line, whether my feet are outside the blue, and that's a really good thing for you guys to teach defensive, offensive positioning and angles, their feet doesn't have to be inside the blue. What needs to stay inside the blue line? The puck. Puck needs to stay inside. So when you get their feet outside the blue line, it's going to create different angles for you, and then it's going to create more space. So when we shoot the puck as a defense or the defensive position from the point mark, it's not expected that it goes in, but we got to get it through. Got to get it through for a second chance opportunity. If it goes in, it's a bonus. If it doesn't go in, let's have our hunters out there. We know what's happening, and let's get that puck through. How do you know where to shoot? Got to recognize where those layered screens are, and we'll talk about screening and stuff like that as well. So that's important. The other thing that he had said was, if a defensive player is defending a rush, whether it's an odd person rush or an even rush, if you can shoot the puck as high up as possible, normally what it does for most defensemen, once the shot or the puck goes by them, they usually will turn to locate. They'll turn to retrieve and help the goalie, and then that takes their eyes off the potential threat. And your forwards or whoever the offensive threat is going in there, and they don't know where they're coming from. Because you've shot from up high, you've turned the D around, and now you can create some sort of tactical, whatever your coach wants you to do, your coaching system, how you attack and how you control the puck in the offensive zone. But you got to get the D turned around, and to do that, you got to shoot. Got to shoot for sure. Shot types. I'll try and explain the shot types. So now the whole idea here is the foundation of the stride formation, and then you saw that there's other formations to shoot in, and then there's all kinds of different shot types. Which way to shoot, how to shoot the puck. So you don't need to revert to your comfort zone if you're showing your players that you're okay with them doing different options, different varieties of types of shots. You know, everyone knows the 3 key shots. It's the wrist shot, the snap shot, and slap shot. And there's like a lot more. The wrist shot, I like to call it a silencer. You know, it's just a spy-like shot. It's effective through screens. I go back to the goalie coaches again, and it's important to understand these goalie coaches my job is to study them and study what happens with how they're teaching the goalies. And I think these guys and people are wearing lab coats. That's how scientific the goalie position is getting, how they seal the post, where the puck is in relation to the play, and what they're doing. So I like to talk about this type of shot, and it's becoming really effective because usually if you have the opportunity, no matter what age you are, what level you are. The goalie coaches are teaching the goalies to react off acoustics. So if I'm a goalie and I can't track the puck, if I can see the puck, then I can make the save if it comes through clear. I can block it or save it. But once I get my vision is impaired or I can't see, I'm screened, but I hear a shot, then I'll react, I'll get big because I'm unsure of where it's coming from. So I know it was a shot, it sounded like a shot, I gotta get big or go down. So if you don't make any sound, if that release is with no sound at all, old school wrist shot, I call it the silencer, then the goalie's not gonna know when to react. But the shooter has to observe, pre-scan, and know when to read when there's screens. Layered screens, or just a regular screen or cross screens, movement going on, the right time to release the puck with no sound, and there might be an opportunity. It could be an initial shot goal, or for sure, if it gets through, it's coming back. It's gonna come back for sure. So that's the wrist shot, the silencer, the old school shot. Snapshot, there's two types. I got my stick up here, it's full of water here now. So I like to refer the old snapshot to a old school style where the stick is elevated off the ice, maybe between 12 and 18 inches to the knee, and then they snap the puck off the ice in a snapshot. The unloaded one, that's the loaded one. The unloaded one to me is where the stick is away from the puck and you just snap it quickly. And the less space that's between the puck and the stick, the more effective it is. Some players will load back here, it still stays on the ice, and they'll push force through and hit the puck, kind of like snapping action, instead of loading it up to make that shot. That's a loaded and unloaded snapshot. Okay. The wrist snap combo, that's the inward pull. That's the type of angle that we spoke about. The greater the angle, the more effective it is. So that's the one where you're pulling it in on an angle and then you snap it off after. And usually, most times, the stick remains, or the blade of the stick remains on the ice surface. Some players will pull it in, lift their stick up and shoot, but it's different for everybody. And if you have the variety or the option to do both and know that you're doing it and choose to do it, then you're becoming way more effective. That's that unpredictability factor we're looking at with that shot type there. Outward prep, you just saw that. That was Bedard doing the outward prep, and we just explained that pushing that puck outward. And then the technical aspect of that outward push can start in different parts of the body depending on the situation you're in. I'm a right-handed shot, so I'm a smart guy. The lefties, I don't know what's going on with the lefties, but right-handed shot, I can start the puck on my right foot, which is like a small distance. I can start it from the midway point of my body. If I have stick checks coming in, then I can put it to my opposite side of my body to push it out. So where it starts from and where it finishes is variable to the situation you're in. But you have all these options. It doesn't have to be the same thing. And that's the thing about players. Players are very habitual. This would be a good time to discuss, how many times a player stick handles the puck before they shoot. It's a big thing. We call it, in our area, we call it dusting the puck. Or if they're really hard on it, we call it chopping it in half. So they do a stick handle, and that habit that they do every single time, it dictates from practices to games. So if they have a clean shot, they'll still have to stick handle it. We want to limit that, limit the times we touch the puck prior to releasing it. On the tape, off the tape. I said that 25 years ago, and it stuck. On the tape, off the tape. The outward prep. Two-touch shooting. Unsure if you know the meaning of that. Two-touch shooting, to me, the way I explain it is it's off a pass receive, and no matter what it touches the first time, it could touch your feet, your stick, your toilet. The second time you touch it, you're shooting it. It's going to the net right away. Hopefully, it's off your stick, so if it's on your backhand, puck comes in, you stop it, and you shoot it right away. And there's usually sound involved in this one. It's more of a snapping action, a loaded stick, a half clapper, or maybe a low-range slap shot, which people refer to the snap shot. So the slap shot, It's the percentage of the slap shot from 2018 per game for that season in the NHL was 2%. 2%, you know, and then Nathan McKinnon goes in the Stanley Cup final game, gets a stretch pass across the neutral zone, and goes over the blue line, 5-on-5, takes a big slap shot and scores. So the next day, what does everybody want to learn? The slap shot. But it's only 2%, and that was his only slap shot goal of his career. So my whole thing is let's perfect the quickest release shot that we have with your body in a stable position and the foundation set, ready for what comes next, and then we can work on these power shots. Slap shots have many ranges, like the snapshot style is at 18 to 20 inch or to the knee level loading. Then you have your mid-range, and to me a full-range slap shot is when the player's arm is completely level or parallel to the ice. The stick is still going to be above the head, but once you start getting a little bit more loading up here, then it takes more time, and during that space there's a lot more chance for error, for things to F up when you're doing that. And we want to get the puck there as quick as possible. That doesn't mean if you have time you can't take one, but I highly encourage working on quick release and trying to make that as consistent as possible. And then if your team or the league you're in or the level you're at can dictate the youngsters or anyone taking a slap shot, then go ahead, because it's fun. And that's what we want. We want it to be fun. So we're in this sport for fun. I can't tell you how many times I've had the opportunity to work with NHL organizations, and I come in and the fun factor starts. And the organization likes it. We want to bring fun back to the game because it's important that we learn while we're having fun. The backhand. Backhand is a weapon. I very rarely teach the backhand shot, and like a lot of times I'll work with some certain players and they'll say, I have the best backhand in the game, and they think that their backhand is from 2 meters away or from 6 or 8 feet. They just come in and do a quick little, you know what I'm talking about, come in and do a backhand. The backhand shot to me is a weapon. Brings me back to number 87. He shoots the puck on his backhand really well, and there's another guy wears number 88 in New York. Kane is a really good backhand shot. In the backhand shot, if you want to teach your players, because their tendency is to use their backhand a lot based on their body position when they get in front of the net. One of the things that I've recognized that we can work on more on the backhand shot. So remember, in a forehand shot, I'm a righty, so the top grip hand does a pulling action and the bottom hand does a pushing action. In a backhand shot, it's the complete opposite. And at the very end of a shot, this is what happens to a player's stick. So if I'm shooting the puck and I take the shot, there's this wrist snap action where the blade moves forward like this in a forehand shot. So that wrist snap action makes that blade go forward. And that makes the puck what? What's it make it do? Spin, makes it spin. It's exactly it. And the more the puck spins, the faster it can fly through the air. It's like, anybody here, put up your hand if you ever throw a Frisbee. Anybody throw a Frisbee? Yeah. If it doesn't spin, it doesn't go nowhere. So you want to make sure you get really good spin on the puck, and that's that action. So in the backhand, what happens is they neglect to do two things. There's a big pulling action, but they forget to push because it's an opposite motion. Once they add the push to it, then the puck starts to project really good. And they need to have now the backhand flipping action, a backhand snap action of the stick to make the puck spin more. That's kind of really, really important for that to happen. Puck spin is critical. That's next year's presentation. We'll talk about puck spin. But there's so much criteria in the motion patterns, but the whole thing for me is to ensure that the body is in a foundational stability position ready for what comes next. And the stride formation is the starting point to get them to get their hips in good position. The spine angle, a lot of players will lean and try and torque their body around. It's more easier for them to torque when your body has a really good alignment to the target. That's important. In conclusion, so this is a great example of a puck being in a frontal position being released off the stick. And this actual shot, if I'm not mistaken, it was a few years ago during this COVID thing that we had going on, whatever that was, and that was a low goal with the puck spinning. So that's a visual of what the puck looks like coming off the blade in that frontal of a position, and that's a pretty good example of what we're trying to achieve. We want to condense the area that we're shooting from, and we want to make sure that we're getting as much power as possible and force and quickness on that shot release. So I'll leave with this. All players and athletes are unique. Like I said in the beginning, we're like fingerprints. So we want to make sure that when you're teaching them, try and accept their pushback on certain technical things, certain motion patterns or biomechanics, because it might not feel good to them. So we got to find a way to measure what they're comfortable with and then fine-tune it. Just little changes. There's a player I had the chance to work with named PK Subban. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this guy. When I met him as an 18-year-old, his stick length, the height of his stick was like in the middle of his chest. And then when he finished the game, his stick was up here. So in a 14-year period, he went from here to here. But just little increments at a time, making sure you're testing what you're doing, getting good feels for all those pattern changes or the lie change or the flex change or the stick circumference, different thicknesses of the shaft and all that kind of stuff is important. Stride formation is an effective starting point for all ages and levels. I think you guys got that. Lefties, left leg back, righties, right leg back. The youngsters, you'll see if you guys are coaching anywhere from U14 down through to U7, this is almost I would say a reversion. This is their go-to until they start seeing players shoot with a single leg. Then they start to experiment and they forget about the stride formation. Our job is to get them back into it again so that they stay low when they shoot. Low posture, that's what we want them to have, low posture. Having options and variations allows the player to be unpredictable. I don't know what the combination is between all the shot types and all the body formations and the timing changes, but we want you to teach them, or I want you to teach them to be able to have those options. Try them out. Try the single leg snapshot. Try the single leg wrist shot. Try the stride formation, like wrist snap combo and all that stuff so that we can allow them to make choices when they're doing it, and then no one's going to know when it's going to happen. And nowadays, from what I understand, there's a department called analytics. And analytics is studying what the heck you do, how often you pick your nose when you're on the ice. They're looking at you in detail, trying to catch what the habitual motion patterns are in the situations you're in, and these timing changes will allow you to become unpredictable. And when someone doesn't know what you're going to do, but you know what you're going to do, it's really good for us offensively. Know what, know when, know how. If you have a problem with that, I can help. We're here to teach. All the skills, knowing when to do it, knowing how to do it, builds you as a coach and a player. That's important. Any questions? That's it for me. Anything? Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, we have two questions now.
Just two?
From Slido. Grip arm elbow. Elbows outfit not for all of the players because there are different body constitutions. Do you agree?
I agree. Yes, absolutely. One of the things that I try and do is overemphasize what that grip arm elbow is doing, and sometimes if I feel like that height should be right here for that range of motion, I encourage players to elevate that. And I'll do drills that help that. One of the things you can do with your team is you can line them up and how many team members you have or clinics you're doing or how many teams you're involved with. You can have them start on the goal line in 2, 3, 4 lines and just Get them skating linear so they have their arm up, one hand on their stick, and they'll skate down the ice with the puck in a prepared position. And you do that up and down the ice as many times as you want, encourage them to keep their elbow up. Then you get them to add a second hand, and then you get them to move the puck in that actual prepared area as they're going up and down in a straight line so they can continue to keep their elbow elevated. It's important, elbow elevation. If you watch good shooters on TV, no matter what level they are, but if they're on TV, they're at a high level, the good shooters in the puck control, their elbows are elevated.
Does your way of teaching change from a forward to a D-man?
Can you say that again?
Does your way of teaching change from a forward to a D-man?
I think that's the best question I've ever heard. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways. I feel like when a player, no matter how old they are, if you as a coach feel like they are a better forward for you than they are defense, then it starts in the mindset. It starts with encouragement, enabling them to understand what their role is on the team or what their role is where they're playing. So if you think that a defenseman should be a forward or a forward should be a D, or they should go in net, I don't encourage it, but if they go to forward from D or D to forward, you have to explain why. Why do you want them to do that? So there is the ability to do it, but they need to have encouragement as to why it's happening. Because I'm sure that there's a coach here that's had pushback because you feel the way or the style of a player, that the way they skate would be more suitable for them at a certain position. So give them their role. It doesn't matter if they're 7 years old. There's a way to tell someone the same message over and over again, no matter how they accept it. We want to make sure that it's in positive form. Make sense?
How many shots a player needs to take to improve their shooting?
1 million. No, I'm just kidding. It's not how many shots you take. You know, some players are encouraged to, and some coaches, there's the one thing that I kind of disagree with is this 10,000 puck challenge. So whenever you give your team or the players the challenge to shoot as many pucks, then they might not do it the way they should. They just want to get through all their shots quickly. So I encourage players when I'm working with, if I'm starting to do like modifications in their technique a little bit, I'll encourage them to shoot 10 pucks a day. But it's not how fast you shoot 10 pucks. It's how fast you shoot one puck 10 times correctly. And have a checklist. I constantly, when I'm working with, even with pros, I'm like, after you shoot the puck, you need to freeze no matter what you're doing. Get into a frozen position, just like someone took a picture. So if a player shoots a puck, whether they're at home or not, and they shoot and their arm's not locked out, they can freeze and go, oh shit, I gotta lock my arm. And then they can do that self-correction, and they're working on one thing to lock their arm for 1 week, 10 shots a day. So it's like they're really, really analyzing themselves, and that'll help them to become consistent.
Next question, what is the best place, it means the highest percentage of goals, to aim and shoot in the net today?
Wherever the goalie leaves an opening. But I think the most common place to shoot in all the research and data that I've received is low stick, low blocker side. More goals are scored just above the pad, and I guess pads are custom. The older the players are and the more higher level they are, but a lot of goalies, when they drop down in their butterfly and they seal, their gloves are up. So there's a little area between the bottom of their gloves and above their pads, and sometimes it could be anywhere between 12 to 14 to 16 inches. Low shots are the best. If it doesn't go in, what happens if it's a low shot? Yeah, get a rebound. There's an opportunity for kickback, and that's what we want.
Thanks for a great presentation. First feedback for you. How do you see a difference in effectivity of practicing shooting on and off the ice?
I want to know who asked that question. That's a great question. Who asked that question? I want to take that guy for a beer, or that person for a beer. Thanks. Beer on, I got a beer for you. Great question. Like, one of the differences that I see is when you shoot off ice, usually it's on synthetic surfaces. So it can help the player to keep the puck closer to their stick because there's more friction or resistance on the puck. And then when you get to the ice, obviously there's a lot difference in timing, so that makes them speed up their hands more. They got to catch up to the puck a little bit more, but they're doing the same action. So that's a really good thing. Practicing off ice, shooting off ice, and transitioning to on ice is important, for sure.
Can you elaborate on stick blades, how certain characteristics affect your shot?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I show players and youngsters and coaches all the time is they always ask, where should the puck be on the blade when I'm shooting a puck? Where should it be? And there's all kinds of different criteria depending on the pattern, the space they use. We're trying to limit that space, we're trying to condense it. But I guess the analogies or the comparisons I have is I try to explain to the lower age groups that the puck is like an airplane. So airplanes start at the beginning of the runway, they're way back here because they need to go across the runway. In the case of a plane, it's got to pick up speed to get off the ground. A puck's got to pick up speed and spin. So the more space it has, the more spin it collects and the more speed it will have in a certain distance. But then that player does really good at it. Their technique gets better, the distance is shortening, they don't need the whole space. So now the puck is kind of like, can go in the middle. So now we refer to puck from an airplane to what I call a fighter jet. Fighter jets have a lot of what? A lot of power, a lot of quickness. They don't need a whole runway to take off. So now that puck can be located somewhere in the midway point of the blade, somewhere there. You got to find the right spot through that practice. And then there's a graduation where this puck goes from an airplane, they graduate to a fighter jet, and then they become a rocket. Rockets don't need runways. So depending on the angle changes and how much space you take, then you can utilize the front part of the blade. Don't need any space at all. If you're impacting it, there's certain power points, blade position, and then there's, you guys know sticks have certain lies, like the angle of the shaft versus what the blade is. So some players have the wrong lie angle and the puck's really far in front, and the puck keeps going underneath their stick when they're controlling or shooting it. So they need to change the lie instead of modifying what the hand position is, depending on the age of the player. The younger the player, the more modifications you can do, the bigger changes you can do when they're younger, because they can get used to it quicker. The older they are, they're set in their ways. Like, I got to fix my stick, I can't fix my technique. What do I need to do with my stick?
What is your opinion? Practice shooting with skates is more effective, right? Any issues with practicing in shoes?
Absolutely, yeah. I feel, I strongly believe and encourage that you should practice the way you play. You know, sometimes I'll do a session and the player has just finished his pro season and he's like, can I just come with my skates and my gloves? I'm like, nope, because I pass high and hard. So you better wear your gear. Like, and they get more comfortable in it. And once they do that, they can become more consistent because they're at the right level, the right height. And you know, like some players sharpen their skates every week and that makes them smaller. So we want to make sure that that match is always consistent. So I do encourage skates.
Next question, is there a guideline to choose the right flex? Age, weight, height, and how does flex point affect one's shot?
Yes, there is. I'm going to get in trouble here. In big trouble. So stick manufacturers have this suggested flex rating. Should be half your body weight. Has anybody heard that? So if you're 100 pounds, you should have 50 flex. You guys heard that, yeah? Okay, that's not true. If that were true, then my stick would be 130 flex. And I use a 70. 70 is right for me. So what happens when you guys shoot a puck and the players are shooting, all the players, doesn't matter if they're male or female, it's all the same. The starting position's here, and you start to move the puck to shoot it. You get to a certain point, your wrists make the blade go underneath. What does that do to the puck? That's the lift. They want to get lift. They want to hit the crossbar. And at the very end, the blade goes over again and it goes forward. Starts over, goes under, and goes over again with a wrist action there. So it's important that your stick matches where that flex point is. And usually before that stick goes under, that's when you start pushing down. Downward pressure takes place. So that might happen for me back here. It might happen, Jimmy, it might happen for you in the front. For Matthews, it happens way up here because he's like a proven vet. So his downward pressure is way up here. So that's where the fingerprint comes in. So we got to find where that is. But I highly recommend if the player cannot flex their stick more than 2 to 3 inches or whatever that is in centimeters, maybe 10 to 15 centimeters, it's too stiff. They should be able to flex their stick.
Maybe the last question. Do you recommend many changes on sticks, such as in length of stick, taping, and blade pattern?
Yes, always. Like I said, those puck starts in certain positions, there's different patterns out there. Unfortunately, there's like 4 to 5 common patterns that players are available to get at retail and in stores, the 90s, the 92, the P28, all that kind of stuff. There's only like 4 or 5 of them. So we got to find what works for them best. And to be able to do that, recognize where the puck starts, where it finishes, where it is on the blade, and that actual blade pattern could help them to elevate the puck or create spin on it. That's important. The length of the stick, my rule of thumb for me is when you're on your skates, somewhere from the bottom lip area up through to the bridge of the nose. And then you guys that are coaching, or you people that are coaching the U13s and U14s and U12s and U11s, after 2 months, what do these players do? What do? They grow, exactly. So the stick has to grow with them. If the player has a blessing of able to keep their stick for the whole season, when they started, it was at their bottom lip. At the end of the season, they're like, what's going on with my stick? So they're adjusting to that as they go along. Their extremities are doing self-adjustment, but it shouldn't have to. We should keep the stick at the same length if that's the right one for them. The shorter the stick is, it kind of compromises what that shooting pattern is, and then the grip hand starts to come inside instead of it staying outside. But it's a personal thing. How you tape your stick, what you have on top of it, what your flex rating is, it has to feel good. It's an extension of your body. So we want that to feel good. So there's exceptions, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you for your great presentation. Tim Turk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we're going to make a little bit shorter break for 10 minutes. Please come back at 11:35.
Was that my fault?
And one information for you. Some of you need a certificate that you participated here at this symposium. So next to the doors,